What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful night tonight. No breeze. Not even. I don't even think 0.3 miles an hour. Tonight we have some sake here. Look at that. Look how cold that is. And I have a glass. Drink in moderation. Don't drink and drive. All the obvious things. If you're gonna drink, stay at home, and if you're not gonna stay at home, get Uber, and if you don't get Uber, stay at a hotel, and then you can have, you know, a little bit more than usual. So try out this sake here. It's a good brand. I highly recommend this. Very smooth, but alcohol is best in moderation. You drink too much, you feel like you have radiation sickness the next day. Look at that. Nice and cold. The way I like it. I don't like warm beverages of any kind. Cheers. Delicious. That's you can't beat that sake. I mean, you can get cheaper ones, but they have a bit of a aftertaste. So today we're cooking steaks here. I have a steak here. It's a New York strip. Beautiful steak. Look at that. That one I bought at a butcher shop. I go in there once in a while. They give me a nod. I give them a nod back. And then I say, let me have that one there. And they go, which one? That one? And I go, yeah, that one. So I got that one. I put salt on it. I let it sit overnight in the refrigerator. And just that, you don't need more. You know what you need more on? Lamb. Because lamb sucks for me. I'm not a fan of lamb. I don't like the flavor. And you have to add a lot of things to it to make it taste okay. I mean, you have to disguise it. Where this kind of meat here, from a steer, bull, you don't have to disguise anything. I've said it before, and I've said that before, but I'm gonna say it again. You always run into a guy who likes lamb, and you say, I don't like lamb, and they always say, oh, but you never tried the kind of lamb my wife makes. I have. And it sucks. So, but I don't want to put them on the spot, but yeah, they always say that, oh, you haven't tried the way my wife makes it. And what do you think, your wife is that special? I don't think so. Lamb and the movie Star Wars and everything that came as a result of Star Wars, awful. Anyway, I got these here at Whole Foods. They're these good looking. That's a good steak right there. I got two of them. So, be cooking them in a minute. I have the fire going. 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Maybe 650. And I don't cook them long. 5 minutes each side. And then I may do a bonus minute on each side just to get the crisscross bars or the lines. You know, I don't know. People sometimes they overcook their food and they kill it. They kill it twice. Doesn't need that much cooking. Now, if it's pork or chicken, you got to go a little bit more because those meats tend to have stuff in it like salmonella and maybe bubonic plague. So you got to cook those, you know, to a certain point. You don't want to go overboard with that and make them dry either. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to be a professional. Maybe get a thermometer. Now they have ones you put inside with the meat, and you sit and watch your iPhone, and it'll tell you what the temperature is. But I don't know. That's kind of like cheating. That's pretty good. I recommend. I don't know. It's a Kikuchi Yu or something like that. Anyway, if you see this label, pick up some. Not bad, but drink in moderation. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do in a few minutes. Right now, I bought a brand new book, Leonard Cohen. Anybody who knows me and those that don't know me know that I'm a huge Leonard Cohen fan, big Leonard Cohen fan. I discovered him by accident. This is like 1989, 1990, around there. A friend of mine calls me up on the telephone that was hooked up to the wall in those days, and he says, I gotta do something in town, but there's no parking around that area where I want to go. Can you come with me and wait in the car so I don't get a ticket? I said, sure, I'll do that. So he had an older car with an AM station only, radio that played AM, no FM. So we never turned on that radio on that car, because I don't know, I mean, I listen to talk radio all the time, but when you're in a car with someone else, you want to listen to some good music, you know, Neil Sedaka. So anyway, we get to this neighborhood, he parks, and he goes upstairs, and I'm waiting outside in the car, and I'm getting bored now, because I've been there quite a while, you know. 20 minutes go by, 30 minutes go by, hour goes by, I'm still in the car. So I decide I'm gonna listen to some talk radio. I turn on the radio and I'm flipping around, and all of a sudden I hear a song I've never heard before, but it stopped me in my tracks. The song spoke to me. That's how music is. Either I like it or I don't, you know, but there's certain artists, certain songs that grab me and they pull me in. So I'm listening to the song, and the song is called Everybody Knows. And I'm saying to myself, I hope when the song finishes that the DJ tells me who the singer is. Otherwise, you know, for the rest of my life, I want to be, you know, hidden in a mystery. I'm not going to know, you know, well, the song's going to be hidden in a mystery. I'm not going to know who that was. And so anyway, I'm waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally, DJ comes on and he says, that's the latest release by Leonard Cohen. And I didn't have anything to write it down on, you know, the name, and I was like, I gotta remember that name, Leonard Cohen. I was thinking maybe if I remember Lenny and Squiggy, then I can remember Leonard Cohen. So months went by, time went by like it usually does, and one day I was downtown walking around doing my tour. I used to do a lot of touring in those days, walking around, and had a route I would do, very, very long route. It was probably like 5 or 6 miles. I would do this big loop and then come back where I began. And one of my pit stops was going into record stores. I love going into record stores. Amoeba, I love Amoeba, but in those days it was Tower Records. But that wasn't where I found Leonard Cohen. I found him in Sam Goody's. So I was walking around, and it popped in my head. I said, who was that singer? What was the name of that song? And I couldn't remember it. Kind of like escaped my memory for a brief moment. So I'm trying to think, and the name Cohen popped in. I go, it's Cohen. Last name is Cohen. And I'm looking, and all of a sudden I see Mark Cohen, and then I look up and I see Leonard Cohen in the cassette section. So I grab one, and it happened to be the right one. I look in the back, and you know when you see something like a multiple choice question with multiple choice answers, and you're not able to get the answer on your own, but if you see it in the multiple choice section, you know what it is. And I saw Everybody Knows on the I'm Your Fan album, and I said, that's it. And I went home that day and I put it in, and that whole album, cassette, sorry, this is a long time ago, it just spoke to me, and I loved every song on it. Every song to me was a gem. Not many people, you know, back then, when I became a fan of my generation, knew who Leonard Cohen was. You know, I would say Leonard Cohen, I'd be like, Leonard Cohen, never heard of him. So I introduced him to a bunch of people that I know, and because of me, they know who Leonard Cohen is. So bought that album, played it, I don't know how many times, dozens and dozens, and then I went and I bought the next one and the next one and the next one until finally I heard all of them, including the older stuff like Famous Blue Raincoat, which I love that song. Came So Far for Beauty. You know, there's so many that, you know, I like, when you're a fan, you love them all. I love them all. So there came a point where I heard all the albums many, many times, and I was craving something new from Leonard Cohen. I was like, what's going on with this guy? I want to write him a letter. I'm telling you, can you get on it? Put another album out. So I finally get news that Leonard Cohen is working on a new album. And by the way, I love Various Positions. I can't say enough for that. So I mean, that's a great album. Wasn't released in the United States, but eventually it made it through, and I ended up buying a copy, and I love that album. Good album. I don't know why Columbia decided not to release it in the US, but anyway, so found out that he was working on a new album, and every week I would go down at, it's not like today you can get on the internet and get updates, but back then I would go down to Tower Records and I would ask. I'd look first, I'd say it's not here, and I'd go after. They're like, we don't know what's going on. So quite a while went by, and started hearing news that it was being released like soon. And somebody said, I don't know if it was like one of those radio stations, that said Leonard Cohen's album is out. So I went down to Tower Records. I was all excited. Went up to the fourth floor, and I went to the Leonard Cohen section. And there was nothing there that was new. I had all the albums. So I went to the desk, and I asked the guy, I said, Leonard Cohen, what's going on with that? Is that out yet? And he goes, I don't think so. So he went over and he looked, and he goes, no. He goes, but let me check. Pulls out this big book, starts flipping through. Went down. He goes, Leonard Cohen. He goes, yeah. He goes, 2 weeks from now. And that gave me energy. I didn't even have to eat food for 2 weeks. I had energy just on the information, just from the information that Leonard Cohen was releasing a new album in 2 weeks. So I went down there. 2 weeks later, I got it. Remember, it was getting dark out. I had to take the train back home, and that train was just not moving fast enough for me. And finally I get home. I go upstairs to my room, had a little system set up there, turntable, cassette, dual cassette, a couple of speakers, nothing expensive, you know, basic stuff, but it had what I needed. And I put it in there, and I hit the button, and I love that album, The Future. My favorite song on that album is the song Waiting for the Miracle to Come. But I love all those songs. You know, just you know, one of those things that it called me out by name. So, and I've been a fan of his ever since. I've seen him live. I've seen him walking further down from here. I didn't bother him. I didn't want to give the impression I was a stalker, you know, chasing Leonard Cohen around. Further up, he had a place, a little business office there. Never bothered him there. And, you know, when I saw him live, he did like 5 or 6 encores. Came out, skipping. Did a few more tunes, had the Webb sisters behind him, had a guy playing, I don't know what that was, some kind of mandolin thing. Very good concert. I will remember it unless I get Alzheimer's. So, I highly recommend this book. Look at the back here. Very interesting book. Handwritten lyrics. Talks about, you name it. Essays are in here. And you know, in the old days, he was living up on Mount Baldy at that Buddhist temple. And I wanted to go visit him because he was accepting people. People would go up there and, you know, talk to him, and it was a perfect opportunity for me. But I had a crappy car back then, a really bad car. It didn't have a starter. I couldn't afford a starter. Put the key in, it wouldn't work. It was a stick shift, Toyota, 1979. I bought it without a starter. I got it without a starter. And I would make sure where I parked that either it was really flat or it was slightly downhill, so I could push it, pop it into second, and start it, go off. So I couldn't go up to the mountain because I feared I'd get stuck up there and I wouldn't be able to push it, or it would be in a weird angle or something. I know it's downhill, and plus the car for me seemed like it was ready to die. But I will say that my calculations on that were off, because I ended up driving it cross country and it made it. Although towards the end of the trip I had to make a decision. Do I buy food for me, or do I put gas in my car? And I ended up putting gas in the car. So anyway, I never went to see him. I wanted to meet him so bad. I mean, I wanted to meet him on a personal level, where you can talk to him like you're talking to your best friend. But it just didn't work out. I wanted to go up there, go to the temple, and say, hey, Leonard Cohen, can I talk to you for a minute? But I never did it. I kind of regret not doing that, because, yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. His music touched me. I used to live at a place where it was in the bad part of town, and it was just me, a little room. Very hard time back then, food was light, money was light. Had to make sacrifices on the food. And the only company I had during that period of time was Leonard Cohen. I had this Walkman. It was all beat up. I had it taped up with electrician's tape so it wouldn't fall apart, and the music that I would listen to was Leonard Cohen. So Leonard Cohen was the soundtrack of my life in those years living in that part of town. Yeah, I had a hot plate. I didn't have it at the beginning, I used to eat, basic food just to get by, but I had a hot plate after, and I would cook eggs there at night. And I would listen to Leonard Cohen. And he got me through. Leonard Cohen, it was a very hard time. So I always remember that, and I'm grateful to the artists that kept me company through the loneliest nights and days. So thank you, Leonard Cohen. Famous Blue Raincoat. I love that song, Famous Blue Raincoat. See what's going on here. Nothing. Yeah, I love the older Leonard Cohen stuff, where his singing was just the voice and the guitar, the songs. I remember one time I had an old neighbor of mine in the car, and I was playing Leonard Cohen, and we were driving to Cape Cod. Now, I had it playing low. I didn't even think he was paying attention to it. And then he says to me, I love this artist, he says. I love his voice, it's so soothing. And I go, you were paying attention to that? So, anyway, that's it. Once again, highly recommend this book. I don't get money to say that. I say it because I believe it. So, yeah, it's a great book. Great poet. There was another guy who I was into. He died. Pierre, what was his name? Chico. It's not coming to me right now, but what was his name there? He was like a priest. Pierre de Chichi. Gotta look him up again. I got a bunch of his books. I'm a huge fan. Just the name is not clicking right now. But I enjoyed reading his stuff. Was it Men of the 50s was one of the books. I'll look him up right now. But yeah, DeChico, I think. Pierre DeChico. This will take a second. Pierre DeChico. Giorgio DeChico. Oh yeah, I found him. Pierre Giorgio DeChico, born 1949, July 5th, died December 22nd, 2019, not too long ago. Big fan of his. I kind of discovered him by accident. One day my wife was getting off work, nighttime, kind of like what it is now, without the bright lights. And I was waiting for her downstairs, and I had the radio on. I think NPR was on, and they were doing some art show, poetry. And they were interviewing Pierre DeChico. And within 3 minutes, I knew that he was my people. I went and bought his books, his poetry books. I read them all. And, you know, very sad that he died. Leonard Cohen died 2016. I was very sad about that. I wish he had lived a few more years. But I will say that towards the end of his life, he became extremely productive and put out a bunch of albums back to back. So I felt very satisfied. And high quality, by the way. So what's that book that I mentioned here? Oh, here it is. Dead Men of the 50s. Dead Men of the 50s came out in 2004. Highly recommend it. Yeah, I love his style. I love the way he wrote. And you know, I'm a big fan of poetry. Big fan of poetry. H.W. Auden. W.H. Auden. W.H. Auden. I love his stuff. One year my sister for Christmas got me one of his poetry books, real thick one. And I loved it. I just enjoy, you know, just diving into poetry and reading the words and just slowly, you know, kind of picking through them like a chicken. And I enjoy poetry. That's why I love, after I buy an album, I love dissecting the lyrics. I'll go in my room, put the lyric sheet on the table and just go through the whole thing. Look at the little details, the cleverness in the rhymes. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of reading and understanding what the artist was trying to convey. That's why I love music. And not just, you know, instrumentals. I want to hear the spoken word. I want to hear, you know, words and music, the marriage. Eddie and the Cruisers. Anyway, I think they're hungry inside, so I'm going to cook these good-looking steaks, and then I'm going to go inside and eat. So, cheers.